Good morning and welcome to Early Exchange, where we talk about everything that has to do with business, finance, and the economy. I am Femi Ayodele. Today is Friday. Thank God it's Friday, so to say. There's always this excitement that comes with Friday. I don't know why, but if you're here with me, I'll assure you that today is going to be full of excitement because what we have in stock for you is going to give you the best of programming. But before we go into the discussion for today, because we'll be looking at, we'll focus on the entertainment, we're going to look at the Nollywood and its contribution to the economy. Blessing is standing by to take us around the world with news update. Blessing, good morning. How are you today?
I'm fine. Good morning, Femi. Good morning. Thank you for joining me on the Morning News Update on Sick News. I am Blessing Aichi. As the sun graces us with his presence, we're here to bring you the day's top stories bright and early. And this will begin right after this break. Stay tuned. Thanks for being there. President Bola Tinubu has advised Nigerians living in the United States to adopt a success-oriented mindset and see Nigeria as a land of business opportunities and leave behind the frustrations of past leadership. He gave this call during a town hall meeting organized by the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, NITCOM, at the 78th UN General Assembly session in New York. The meeting had in attendance several Nigerian dignitaries, including government ministers and ambassadors, who gathered to engage with the diaspora community and discuss important issues. While commending Nigerians abroad for their good manners and behavior, the president expressed his belief that Nigeria shouldn't be poor and that the nation had the potential for greatness. He commended the efforts to educate out-of-school children, improve healthcare, and reduce poverty, and called on Nigerians to embrace one another, discard ethnic identities that divide, and promote unity among all citizens. Still on the UN General Assembly, Nigeria's Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dele Alaki, has stressed the country's readiness to meet the global demand for critical minerals. Speaking at a special session during the United Nations General Assembly in New York, Alaki emphasized Nigeria's position as one of the top 10 players in the energy sector due to its mineral resources. Despite logging and mining, Nigeria possesses mineral deposits valued at over $700 billion, with significant potential for further expansion. He stressed that as the world shifts towards renewable energy sources, minerals like lithium have gained prominence. And Nigeria, with its vast mineral resources, the country is well positioned to contribute to this new energy landscape. Meanwhile, Nigeria's Central Bank has announced the postponement of its Monetary Policy Committee MPC meeting, originally scheduled for September 25 to 26, with no immediate indication of the reason behind the delay. The decision to reschedule the meeting comes shortly after President Bola Tinubu nominated a new central bank governor and 4 deputy governors, pending Senate confirmation hearings. Furthermore, this development follows the central bank's July decision to implement a minor interest rate hike during the first MPC meeting held since President Tinubu suspended the former central bank governor. As a result of the 2-week ultimatum issued by the Federal Capital Territory Administration FCTA for individuals with overdue ground rent payment to make their payment, the Abuja Geographic Information Systems AGIS headquarters has reported an increase in daily revenue exceeding 1 billion naira. According to reports, debtors are flocking to the AGIS office on a daily basis to clear their standing ground rent obligations, striving to meet the deadline and avoid the potential revocation of their properties. The acting director of AGIS, Ishaku Ndatsu Alpha, noted that the ground rent collections hit their lowest point between June and July, but saw a rapid increase to 500 million naira after the minister's actions in August, steadily climbing to over 1 billion naira. As of September 17, ground rent had generated closer to 2 billion naira, and this is expected to double by month end. Now, in a move to provide affordable housing for Ogun State residents, the state government has begun the construction of a housing estate comprising 200 units in Ikberu, Ikenne local government area of the state. The special advisor to Ogun State government on housing, Jagomolu Omoni, revealed this, noted that the housing development, which is slated for completion within 6 months, aims to address the growing demand for housing in the emerging remote zone economic hub, which anticipates an influx of workers to the area. According to him, the initiative will complement the state government's investment in the Gateway Agro-Cargo Airport project and is expected to stimulate the local economy by providing employment opportunities for over 5,000 artisans and more than 50 service providers on site. The estate will include key amenities like roads, security, education facilities, and a fire service station to serve the growing economic cluster, among others. Still in the Gateway City, She Farmers Initiative, an enterprise that provides support to female farmers and promotes women's active participation in agriculture, has been launched in Ogun State, Nigeria. The Permanent Secretary, Ogun State Ministry of Agriculture, Mr. Sami Adeogun, praised the initiative and pledged the government's commitment to facilitating opportunities for women in agricultural sector. He emphasized the state government's dedication to enhance the livelihoods of its citizens and increase their involvement in agriculture. Adeogun also highlighted previous initiatives that empowered women in the cassava value chain and announced plans to allocate funds to further empower women in agriculture. For more stories outside of the Gate City in Nigeria, we'll go on a quick break and then we're back. Thanks for being there. Moving away from Nigeria, ousted Niger President Mohamed Bazoum has taken his case to the Economic Community of West African States ECOWAS Court, seeking his release. Bazoum, who was removed in a coup on July 26, has been under house arrest with his family. His lawsuit alleges arbitrary arrest and violation of freedom of movement. His lawyer, Seydou Dangdi, has requested that Niger be ordered to restore constitutional order by returning power to Bazoum until the end of his mandate. ECOWAS has imposed sanctions on Niger and warned of possible military intervention if diplomatic efforts to reinstate Bazoum fails. However, the EU continues to recognize Bazoum as the legitimate president of Niger and does not acknowledge authorities arising from the coup. Still in Africa, Rwanda's President Paul Kagame has announced his intention to seek re-election in the upcoming election, aiming to extend his nearly 25-year tenure in power. Kagame, who first assumed the presidency in 2000, is eligible for another decade in office following a constitutional amendment in 2015 that removed term limits. While speaking with Newsbank, Kagame expressed his gratitude for the confidence Rwandans have shown him and confirmed his candidacy. Kagame has been widely recognized for maintaining peace and fostering economic growth since the end of the 1994 genocide, during which hundreds of thousands of ethnic Tutsis and moderate Hutus lost their lives. The President of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Felix Tshisekedi, has called for an instant withdrawal of the United Nations peacekeeping mission, MONUSCO, which has been stationed in the country for nearly 25 years. Speaking at the United Nations General Assembly, the president stressed the need for his country to regain control of its destiny and play a leading role in ensuring stability. The debate over MONUSCO's departure has been a long-standing issue in the Democratic Republic of Congo, with differing views on the mission's effectiveness and its role in protecting civilians. Tshisekedi noted that the mission, consisting of approximately 15,000 peacekeepers, has not succeeded in addressing rebellions, armed conflicts, or safeguarding the civilian population. And now we move to the Middle East. United Arab Emirates UAE's Ministry of Finance has partnered with the World Bank's Group's Multilateral Investments Guarantee Agency, MEGA, to conduct a two-day workshop to bolster the business environment and support investment in emerging markets in the UAE. This workshop, which was held in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, brought together government officials, business leaders and investors from UAE private sector, and it affords MEGA the opportunities to present its various financial products and services. The Undersecretary of the Ministry of Finance, Yonis Haji Al-Khoury, praised MEGA's role in raising awareness about business opportunities in emerging economies and stressed its role in supporting the expansion of the UAE's private sector overseas by providing access to information on guarantees against losses from non-commercial risks and promote entry into high-risk or low-income countries. Still in the UAE, the Ministry of Human Resources and Emiratization, MORI, has directed all licensed domestic worker recruitment agencies to adhere strictly to the country's laws that protect the rights of all parties involved in domestic worker employment. This announcement was made at a meeting held at the ministry's headquarters in Dubai. The gathering, which had in attendance 90 participants, including agency owners, managers and representatives, is part of Emirates' regular efforts to review development in the domestic worker sector. The Assistant Undersecretary for Domestic Worker Affairs at the Ministry, Abdullah Al-Noaimi, reaffirmed the Ministry's commitment to these periodic meetings, aiming to foster dialogue and present developments that enhance the quality of services for domestic worker employers. Moving now to Asia, the Chinese tech and telecoms giant Huawei has unveiled a shift in its strategic direction with a newfound focus on artificial intelligence (AI). Huawei's rotating chairwoman and chief financial officer Meng Wanzhou, stating this during a company event held in Shanghai, noted that this marks a notable departure from its previous two-decade-long priorities, which centered on cloud computing and intellectual property. The company, in a statement, said Huawei's artificial intelligence strategy is crafted to empower various industries to seize emerging strategic opportunities amidst the rising influence of artificial intelligence. Huawei's decision comes after a recent move by Chinese tech giant Alibaba, which also announced its focus on artificial intelligence earlier this month. Away from that, Tesla CEO Elon Musk has revealed plans to further reduce prices on electric vehicles amid intense competition, even as it impacts the company's profit margins. Tesla has been repeatedly cutting prices and offering discounts to address inventory concerns and face economic uncertainties. These price reductions have affected Tesla's automotive gross margin, which dropped by 18.1% in the second quarter, down from 19% in the first quarter and significantly lower than 26% reported a year ago. Despite these challenges, Tesla remains focused on cost reduction and new product development in response to ongoing uncertain conditions. Lionel Messi has subbed off the field due to a muscle issue, making way for Robert Taylor to step in and shine for Inter Miami. Taylor's performance was spectacular, netting 2 goals and providing an assistance as Inter Miami secured a crucial 4-0 victory over Toronto FC. This win brings Inter Miami closer to clinching a coveted spot in the MLS playoffs. Despite Messi's initial fitness expectations, he faced physical challenges around the 30-minute mark and made a decision to come off the pitch. Lionel Messi's exit from the game came as another blow to Inter Miami, following Jordi Alba's injury, prompting questions about the intense workload imposed by head coach Gerardo Martino on key players like Messi, Alba and Sergio Busquets early in the managerial tenure. However, there's some relief for Miami as Martino clarified that Messi's issue was down to fatigue rather than a more serious muscle injury. In sports news, complete the morning news updates. I am Blessing AJ. Thank you for watching. Please stay for the rest part of El Exchange.
Glad to have you join us on Early Exchange. It's time for news analysis, where we review all the business news trending all across the world. And as usual, I'm not alone. The wise men are here to review the news analysis. Dowsa is here. You look like one of the guys at the National Assembly. What's the plan?
I'm rehearsing.
Femi, you should know this by now. We already started calling him honorable.
Yeah.
I am just rehearsing. Good morning, Blessing.
Good morning, sir.
Let's
Morning,
glad you
our
have
viewers.
you as well.
Yeah,
You know,
it's my pleasure to be here too.
Great. So, President Tinubu is in the news again, and we're starting with him. This time around, he has advised Nigerians living in the United States to adopt a success-oriented mindset and see Nigeria as a land of business opportunities and leave behind the frustrations of past leadership. I find that to be very remarkable. You know, he was at, he's still there in New York at a forum with Nigerians in diaspora, whereby I had to advise them to think of investing in Nigeria, you know, business opportunities. And he also laid emphasis on the need to forget about the things that happened in the past, the frustration of the past leadership, which for me, I find that to be remarkable. Dowsa, what's your take?
Well, I think the president of Nigeria hasn't disappointed so many of us who really believe that he understood what the fundamentals are and is speaking to them. I was so much enthused when I heard Tony Elumelu at the side of the visit to the NASDAQ 2 days ago saying, we have a businessman as president and it will no longer be business as usual. And I think this is what is being spoken to. There's a whole lot of issue, trust deficits in Nigeria. A lot of people who had been encouraged to come back home before, and they came and they saw things were not the way they should be. Such frustration will not allow people to want to come. Some people came and they have lost money because of the fiscal and monetary policies regime that were, of course, had to be deliberately controlled by previous regimes. So these are real issues. And you see, he's speaking to the diasporans and say, look, you are doing well, excellently well in the US. We hear that, of course, the Nigerian community is the most enlightened community in the US, and that's outstanding. You are doing well in business. Continue to do well. But understand that, of course, no matter how beautiful the city looks like, home is still home. We need you back home. We want to build this nation together. And this is important because every leader who does not understand change management is not likely to succeed. So what the president is trying to do is to manage the changes that are occurring, trying to appeal and speak to the people that, look, we are transforming, we are reforming. Just look at what we're doing. We're going to stay focused. We will arrive at our destination. Bring your money home. It will be safe. It will be secure. Your investment will be protected as long as we're on the saddle. And I think this is quite reassuring for the diasporans so that they also are now beginning to regain hope and confidence in the government. And once we can deal with the issue of the trust deficit, a lot is going to happen in Nigeria. And I think the same issues that Blessing tried to speak to yesterday when we're looking at speaking from the international politics to domestic politics. And I think we still also need to build even a lot of trust amongst us. And I think Tony Elumelu spoke to that in New York, and he said, yes, while Nigeria is opening its doors for foreign investment to come, even they who are local players, they are also getting set to key into what the government is doing and all the hope that is being raised by the president. They also want to take advantage of it, put more money in the system, and that a long-awaited infrastructural gap would have been taken care of.
Yes, I want to begin from what Femi talked about, the president asking that Nigerians forget about the frustrations of past leadership, because if we keep looking at what has happened before, it will sap the energy with which we would go forward. So I think the past is done, even though we still feel the effects of the past, but we should focus more, our energy should be more on how we can move forward. The more we dwell on the past, the more we reignite the pains that we have felt, and it takes away any kind of the trust that we want to have in the current administration. So it's a good direction. Leave what has happened in the past. Let's focus on the present and let's think of how to move forward. And the president also urging Nigerians in diaspora to be success-oriented, and I think that's a great admonishment, because they too have the struggles that we're going through over there. Like Idausa would say, there is no green grass anywhere. It is those who are there who water the grasses. So it's not very easy for some of them. Some may be thinking, what do I do? Do I quit? Do I just come back home? But the president saying to you, be success-oriented, makes you want to think again, what can I do to be better at what I'm currently doing, or to get to the next level? You see,
Blessing just spoke to that. You see, it just reminded me the last meeting that the president had with delegation from Rivers State, while he was speaking to them, and said, look, Nigeria has no business being poor. We don't have problem with resources. We don't have problem with people. What we have got to grapple with since independence are two basic issues. One, leadership, and two, management. And that, of course, sounds to me the same thought pattern in this conversation. That what you're looking at is that you're seeing that what do leaders do? Leaders are pathfinders. They set a clear goal and vision to say, this is where we want to be. The manager take those visions and operationalize them. Now, when you have deficit in leadership, which means, of course, there are no clear direction, no clear vision. Of course, even if you have excellent managers, they will be just heading nowhere. Like the story in Alice the Wonderland. If you don't know where you are going, then it will take you there. And this is why you find that there have been this rift between agencies of government, because there's no clear goal set by leaders. So that deficit has been with us for a while. So he is saying this is a problem. Once we have good leadership who can clearly set out goals and objectives of where we want to go, and then you have competent hands to operationalize those goals, put them into actionable, KPIs, you will find that the nation will really recover its fortunes. And I think this is important, that we must begin to look at it. And President Tinubu is saying, look, I'm going to provide leadership. We have competent people who will help us put these ideas and make them real for all of us. And also telling them, you come back home. You also have roles to play. In short, as a matter of fact, he said, we have taken some of you to be part of this process. So we still want many of you to come and join us and build a nation.
You talked about the need for a leader to set the pace and then for the managers to take it up from there. That will take me to Dele Alake, one of President Tinubu's manager, who is taking advantage of that forum, and in this light is saying that the country is ready to meet the global demand for critical minerals. Speaking at a special session during the United Nations General Assembly in New York, Alake emphasized the need for Nigeria to be one of the top players in the energy sector due to its mineral resources. Despite lagging behind in mining, Nigeria possesses mineral deposits valued at $700 billion. So earlier you were talking about the need for leaders to set the pace and for the managers to take it up from there. Now, taking advantage of the same forum, President Tinubu set the pace. He's been being the spokesperson for Nigeria and as far as Africa is concerned. And now the manager, now in this slide, that's the Minister for Solid Minerals, Dele Alake, is also trying to put to the world the potential, that inherent in that ministry as far as solid minerals is concerned, and is looking at an opportunity for Nigeria to be one of the top 10 players as far as the world is concerned. And this mineral deposit are being valued at $700 billion. That's huge.
Some years ago, we were in Abu Dhabi with one of our friends who was in charge of the Emirates Club Strategic Studies. And we're having this conversation. I think then a delegation from Nigeria, led by the past president, who was then the vice president, visited, of course, the king of the Emirates. And they were having this conversation, what they call the Abu Dhabi Accord. And they came up to present what was really under our ground. And humorously, he put it this way. He said to me, all the precious precious stones that is read in the Bible, that Nigerian had them in commercial quantity under our ground. That if we were really not to have oil and just to leverage on precious stone alone, we will be among one of the richest countries in the world. But over the years, we really have not paid so much attention to this that God had given to us. And this is what you see the Minister of Solid Mineral is pioneering. That look, they are not just here to just talk about solid mineral, asking people. The government is ready to do business in the solid mineral. And he is saying he is actually going to create Solid Mineral Corporation after the order of NNPC that's managing the oil. So you're going to have a company on its own to manage this huge wealth that nature has given to us. And so what Alake is saying is, look, there's so much we can do. Let's set up business around this. And of course, like I've said here, some weeks ago, the investment in solid mineral is something that is huge. So you need a lot of people who will come in here to come and invest. And you can see how strategic the president is in selecting those who went with him to Ongai, so that everybody can have opportunity to begin a business. So we're really seeing a government ready to do or live to its biddings. So we are expecting that this particular visit to the US will bring in a lot of investment in that sector. And once we have this investment in that sector, all the things that has hitherto trouble us as a nation will no longer be there. You see, because the whole warfare, the whole crisis we've had is how to share the oil money. Now you can imagine that we're no longer just sharing oil money. We are sharing oil money from TAC. We are sharing money from Californium. We are sharing money from other precious stones. So there will be no pressure on the value that is coming in from oil. And I think this will be good for Nigeria. We really need to open up that sector and see how people can play their big, and then we get the best for it.
All right, moving on, the Nigeria Central Bank has announced the postponement of its Monetary Policy Committee meeting, originally scheduled for September 25th, 26th, with no immediate indication of the reason behind the delay. The decision to reschedule the meeting comes shortly after President Tinubu nominated a new central bank governor and 4 deputy governors. You know, there's supposed to be the Monetary Policy Committee meeting, which is the committee arms of the CBN, the bank committee arm of the CBN, which was initially scheduled for September 25th, 26th. But there's a need to postpone it now. I strongly want to believe it has to do with the fact that you don't have a substantial CBN governor now, and then the president has sent some names to the National Assembly, that of the Central Bank, and 4 deputy deputy CBN governor to be confirmed by the Senate. I strongly want to believe it's because of this record, because you can't have that kind of a meeting without having someone who is officially recognized as the Central Bank governor. And this is the reason why this meeting has been postponed. Talk to us about that.
I don't think it's because there's nobody who is the CBN governor, because we have an acting CBN governor, and by law, he's empowered to actually chair that meeting. But I guess what it is the fact that, of course, we are having new board coming on, and they also want to hit the ground running. And we cannot run away from the fact that the last board of the CBN made a whole lot of blunders in terms of managing this MPC. So this is critical to what we're going to gain as we move into the new budget year. So it's just natural that, of course, we have to give room for Senate to clear this new board to set a new direction for the CBN. Like Albert Einstein will say, insanity is when a man keeps doing the same thing and expect a different result. So we have had a CBN for the past 8 years who have been having one form of thought, one way of thinking. So I think we have to disrupt that thinking. And that is why, of course, the president brought in a whole lot of experienced bankers who understand the terrain, and then we'll be able to set a new pace for the monetary policy for Nigeria. I think this is what is trying to play out.
And I think too that they understand that since the new board will be coming on, whatever decisions that they make at the end of the NPC meeting may be upturned by the new board. You made reference to some blunders that were made by the current board. You know, over the last couple of years, we've seen after a monetary policy meeting, rate hikes, several decisions aimed at addressing fiscal policy issues that really didn't go well with the economy. But we're hopeful that after the Senate hearings and the confirmations, MPC meetings will hold and the decisions will be very favorable to the economy.
All right, let's take the news analysis to Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, where ground rent payments to make increase in daily revenue has increased, to 1 billion naira. This was as a result of, the ultimatum given by the agency involved, and then as a result of, the threat from the minister, also that if those who are defaulting are not making payments, that within 2 weeks their lands will be revoked and all that. And you now see a jump in the revenue, just within few weeks. What does this suggest to you about leadership and then taking up responsibility? Yesterday I spoke to you about what is usually regarded as a fraud triangle, where you have pressure, you have opportunities, and then you can rationalize. It allows for a lot to happen. And I think this is what is happening, that over the last years, we have had in Nigeria that you see those who lead us are afraid to deal with the real issues which confront us. You see, I just joined this with what Umahi was saying while he was inspecting the East-West Road. And he said, this is not about me, it's about God, really. That if in the last 23 years, we have poured trillions and trillions and trillions of naira on this road, and you put money in today, tomorrow the road fails. And then, of course, this regime is saying, look, no more asphalt, use concrete. And the whole team of contractors and civil servants are blackmailing the Minister of Works and the whole government. It speaks to what a kind of a system that we have run over the years. A lot of people had run away with Nigerian resources, and they are making billions into their pockets, and they are not paying rent to government. Taxes that are due are not remitted. But there are some people within the civil service who are protecting
these enemies of the state. And this is the real issue. And this is what you're seeing. So if you have somebody, a leader, who is saying no to this rubbish, then of course people will change. You know, somebody said the other day, and he said, look, oh, we're all talking about values in Nigeria, you see, but when you see Nigeria and they go abroad, they behave. Why wouldn't they behave? Because if the law catches up with you, you know what it means. You will pay dearly. There is nobody to call. And this is the real issue. And I think we must get to that point in our national life where, of course, we have a president who has the issue of Nigeria at heart, that no matter how highly placed you are, if you are contravening the laws of the land, you should be dealt with according to the laws, without any interference or exuberances of those you have actually recruited to help you govern. This is what you're seeing. We see here from the Minister of FCT about 165 land licensing, certificate of occupancy had been revoked. In the city center, you have a land holding it the last 15 years, not developed, and you are speculating the land, which means you don't need it in the first place. So these licenses are being revoked. I know that a lot of people are going to say, oh, they're going to their cronies, but the question is, why are this land not given to those who need them? So this is the real issues that faces us. And I hope that other aspects of revenue leakages will also be affected, so that the much needed resource that we need to kickstart the development of Nigeria start to come into the coffers.
Yeah, and I think, like I've always said, people don't do what is expected, they do what is inspected. So this is a way of whipping people back into line. Until the ultimatum, the money wasn't available to pay the ground rent. So once the ultimatum came, the money became available. So when there are no punitive measures for things, you don't expect that people will do what they should do. It's only when there are consequences attached to certain actions that people will begin to do what they are meant to do. And I think that's just the way to go in a lot of things in Nigeria. To crime, to every other thing, there should be consequences for certain actions. That's the only way we can sanitize the system.
I really still want that many of the ministers, you see, we also spoke about the international passport the other day, and you know, a whole lot of bagla are done just because the minister has spoken, he has not taken any action. We really need to see some scapegoats, so that many people who are still trying to watch, you know, I remember speaking to some people in 2016, and we were having this conversation, and one man told me, and he said, you see, we were looking, and when we saw the body language and saw things were not working, we went back to our old ways. Now, this is the way people think. So we need to sustain this. That is not just to just gain an immediate trust from the people. We must sustain it as a way of life. Just the way Adelaja put it, Nigeria must begin to enforce righteousness.
All right, let's take the train now from Abuja to Niger. Yeah. So the latest news coming from Niger is the fact that President Bazoum has approached the ECOWAS court to seek for his release. You know, he has been in custody for months. It's quite interesting that now he's taking his case to the ECOWAS courts to seek redress and to seek, you know, he's talking about the violation of his human right and his freedom. What do you think can come out of this? You know, that was a...
Well, I don't see so much coming out because the imbroglio is still on. The coup has happened, and the juntas, they don't live or rule by the law or constitution. I don't know how much power that the ECOWAS court will have to be able to call these people to attention. It's going to really be difficult, but it is nice that, of course, he's speaking out, of course, to say, of course, let there be a decision from the ECOWAS to say, release him, which, of course, ECOWAS have been saying before now.
They even gave them ultimatum in the first place,
so,
which was
so I don't see how court will be able to enforce its release as it were. But I think it's just to see how we can really manage some of the issues that really affect us. But again, that reminds me, of when Bola Ahmed Tinubu, our own dear president, was speaking to Antonio Guterres yesterday, and he told him that, of course, these big powers, they should stop hiding behind human rights to steal our resources and halt reforms in Africa. You see, because every time you want to address big issues, people have to always say human right, human right. But that said, I think the juntas in Niger Republic need, if they have taken over power successfully, they should release the man and allow him to live his normal life. I don't think he's now in control of the army. I don't think what kind of mobilization he can do. But they can keep him somewhere he can be free to move around and live his life. And if there are things that they feel he has done wrongly, then of course they can approach the law and deal with it according to the law of Niger Republic, than really abusing him and denying him access to medication, access to his family members and friends. But I think that is not really nice enough.
Yeah, and they should know that you cannot solve a wrong with also a wrong approach. So if you say someone has committed crime, then go the right route. And then appealing to ECOWAS, I think ECOWAS should also be careful at this point, because appeals like this should not provoke any use of force, because it will not be favorable to Africa in any way. What can be done is an appeal and maybe call for talks with the junta, if they would honor such talks, to come to maybe a round table and see what's the way forward with this. But more than that, I don't think there's much the international community, much that ECOWAS can do, because nobody will want to engage the use of force.
Yeah, but this has actually been a debate. As a student of international relations, this conversation is ongoing, even in the academies, how effective and how useful really international bodies such as UN, ECOWAS, AU, because they don't have the force of a government. And that's why over the last 2 or 3 decades, people have actually been advocating for a supranational body that is fully endowed with requisite power to be able to enforce its sanctions. Because whether you like it or not, the United Nations, International Court of Justice, they don't have a standing army, they don't have a standing police to be able to actually execute the sanctions that are imposed. And this is a constraint on this global body, because all that you can do is actually to appeal to the conscience and the goodwill of whoever that is doing what. So this is a constraint, and that's why people are seriously agitating. And if you look at what has happened, this build-up to a federation of earth, you know, I saw a document called the Constitution of the Federation of Earth, which is very written, giving strong power to these multilateral organizations, international body, to be able to enforce sanctions where it is necessary. Until that happens, you can only have pronouncement. And you hear the president told the secretary to the United Nations yesterday, the UN must move from talking to action. So at the moment, we can only do talking. There's not so much of action that can be done.
All right, let's look at, before we wrap up, let's look at what is happening in Rwanda, where the president has decided to seek re-election, you know, after spending about 25 years, and he's been in power for 25 years. Remarkably, in 2015, the constitution was amended, you know, to pave way for his long tenure, unlike what we have here in Nigeria, where an average president of governor is expected to serve for 4 years, or if you seek re-election, that would be another 4 years, making 8 years. But in the case of Rwanda, you know, the constitution has been amended in a way that the president can stay as long as his people want him to be there. This is a president who has been in power for 25 years. One person will just imagine, what else does he want? What does he want? Again, he's seeking re-election.
Well, I think if history is anything to go by, when you find a strong man who lead reform and get out of the way, it's always very easy for the dog to go back to his vomit, or the swine to go back to the mud after it's fully washed. And I think this is a challenge that is in Rwanda. When I was in Rwanda last month, 2 months ago, we had this conversation. And this conversation was, how will a Rwanda look like after Paul Kagame? And this is real challenge for the Rwandese. Because when you see where they are coming from and where they are at the moment, can we really say that Rwanda has actually healed? This is the real challenge. And even many Rwandese are concerned about this. Can we find somebody who will be able to sustain this relative peace that we enjoy today, and will be able to act the same way Paul Kagame is acting? And that's why you see, before the last election, even the Rwandese carry placard and say, you cannot go. Because as is seen today, Kagame is seen as a demigod. Because in a very few years, he was able to turn around the fortunes of Rwanda, coming out of a heinous genocide and trying to weld the communities together to live as one. Now also building a modern Rwanda that is a model to the world. Now, if you are listening to the interview of Governor of Anambra State, Charles Oludo, when they came back from Rwanda, and he said so many glowing things about Rwanda in terms of the kind of systems that is happening in Rwanda. And this is an African country that just fought a terrible civil war, and this man was able to pull them out. So you understand what this means. This happened to Lee Kuan Yew in Singapore. He has to be there for 33 years, and even when he stepped aside due to age, he still had to be there to oversee that things were being done rightly. This is the challenge in Rwanda, and of course, Paul Kagame needed before now to really have mentored somebody who should take over from him. And I think many African leaders need to know this. And of course, this also affects us, that until a leader is about to leave office, they don't think about successor. Successor planning should be part and parcel of the program of every leader, knowing that you cannot be there forever. And therefore, you must groom somebody who takes over from you when you leave office. And if this is not done, you will find the Rwanda kind of experience.
I don't even believe that the fact that a leader is doing well, you have to stay in power for that. There's this saying that you leave the stage when you have the loudest ovation. You don't wait till when the ovation has reduced before you leave. If as a president, you've done your bit for 25 years. In fact, the fact that you are a successful leader is the fact that you have a good successor. And if in a country you have billions of people, you can't get a good success, then it shows your leadership has question mark. So for me, I don't think it's a reason for him to be in power. You leave the state when you have the loudest ovation. And it's also important to set a pace so that at least, others can also take a clue. But he has an escape, which is the constitution. The constitution of Rwanda supports.
So it's not, you see, it's very easy to say, leave the stage while the ovation is loudest. But it's also something that we have seen, even in leadership and management cycles, especially in Africa, where psychophancy is a discipline. It's difficult to actually see people who think they are following you, and all they are just doing, they are just waiting for you to leave the stage. See, the challenge is that the heart, if it was just a natural case, that the man just came and met a situation where there was no warfare, there were no differences, there were no bad blood, now this could be. But we're looking at a nation that was almost being wiped out under the supervision of international communities. If you look at the ICC judgment on Rwanda, you see churches were complicit, countries, international countries were complicit from the Western Europe in the challenge. And all these things, all of these people, they are still waiting. And the worst of it is that you are having a lot of people who are around the neighborhood of Rwanda as guerrilla warfare, waiting for the man to leave. This is the situation in Rwanda. And I think, yes, he needed to have mentored somebody, which he has not done up to now. And we don't know what is responsible. But I think African leaders need to learn what mentorship is all about.
Okay, African leaders need to learn what mentorship is all about. What a way to wrap
And
up.
Africans need to also learn to be mentored.
Yeah.
Because psychophancy would not allow them to be mentored.
That's remarkable.
Thank you, Bless.
Another words of wisdom from Bless. All right, what's a way to wrap up this news analysis? We'll take a break now. When we return, our discussion for the day will start. Stay with us. It's still early exchange, and it's the Friday edition of the program. We're looking at, the creative industry, and this time around, we are looking at the music industry. What it takes to start a music production, and we'll definitely be talking about music concerts and tours. To shed more light on this, we're being joined by Osezua Steve, who is also a music producer. Osezua, glad to have you join us on Early Exchange this morning.
Good morning, Osezua Steve.
Steve, if you can hear me.
I think I actually tilt more. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you clearly. Glad to have you join us on Early Exchange.
Yeah. Okay. My name, I say, is Osezua Stephen Imorio. I actually tilt more towards movie production, but of course, in movie production, it comprises of different areas of the arts, which music is an integral part of it. And as a person, I'm also a music person, all the way back from the days of Steve Rhodes Voices, and over time, we've been following the trend to see how Nigerian music is moving from grace to grace. Yes, the growth is actually tremendous, and it's really worth talking about.
All right, thank you so much for giving us that background. Now, the focus now is music tours and concerts. I would like you to start by taking us through why it's important for an artist to have music tours and concerts. What will be the impact? Let's start with that.
Yes, for a start, I think the Nigerian music industry has experienced a very exponential growth in the last in recent years, and I think the growth has been aided by tours, both locally and with much acceptability, not just in Africa, around the world, internationally. It's like when you are playing your music or doing anything. I think there's a very popular balance in advertising. The business without advertising is like winking in the dark. You know what you are doing, but others cannot see what you are doing. So when you move from once you gain a level of exposure and you tour around with your music, it's like advertising for yourself, because around the world you create a fan base. No thanks to the internet age, because you have a what do you call it? Music apps like Spotify and several others that have made much of our artists very, very popular. So their fan base around the world, we really would love to see them. So making they fulfill that purpose by touring. You see the likes of Burna Boy, Whiskey, Davido, and others. They sold out in several concert halls in Europe, where the European musicians themselves have never even, some of them, they've never filled it up to half. But the Nigerian musician, through our kind of music, especially the Afro beats, has actually taken us to that world stage.
Okay, now that we're in the world stage, you find that there are some artists that are able to go on international tours, not just local tours. But it's difficult for some others. What makes the difference, and what makes it easy for some others to go on tours, whether local or international tours?
I think the very first thing, or the major things artists need, you need a good producer. You need a good manager, then you need a good record label. They are actually responsible. Those three factors are very important in how far you go in music.
All right.
Good producer,
Okay.
good manager, and good record label.
Now, you will agree with me when it comes to going on tours, it's more physical. But I would also like you to talk to us the level of preparation needed by an artist who wants to go on tour. Take us to the process or the processes that are involved when it comes to securing tours and then having concerts.
Okay, for a start, you need to be an artist indeed, because going into the studio to drop your voice into a particular beat and they release it is one thing. Being able to face a live audience and really engage them in performance is another thing. So if you are good, if you started where you get good background, and especially in terms of training, that you can face your audience and do a good live performance, that puts you in a very good position. But like I said, the planning of this tour, the execution of this tour is within the manager and the record labels, because it also depends on some agreements. Even when they are signing you on, you need to look at the record label and see how good they are, how far they can go, what are they doing with the artists they have at hand. Some of those are the consideration. But like I said, the managers of that artist, the record label, are actually responsible. They plan these tours for their for the artist.
Okay, you talked about being able to perform live and engage the audience. So what is the role of collaborative tours in ensuring the success and engagement of the audience? How does it help?
I think when young artists especially, they are under a kind of, I don't want to use the word tutelage, but it's more like that. When the small artists, it's just like football. You have the local players joining the people from the international footballers coming in, and they play together. Definitely, that will have a very serious positive impact on them, their confidence, their style of play, and the boldness to approach the game. And it's not too far-fetched. The same thing happens in the area of music. When young and upcoming musicians begin to go on tour with the big acts, the likes of the Wizkid, the likes of the Davido and the Burna Boys of this world, before long, they will gain that, because that confidence is very important. Singing to yourself, to your managers, to the producer, and maybe one or two others in the studio, it's a completely different ball game when you are facing thousands of live audience to perform. So you need to actually, do I say graduate into that? It's a gradual process. You graduate into that process. So it's very good if you get that exposure, you get good record label. They put you in between they put you in between the big acts when they are going on tour, and you are going to go there to be part of maybe to open the show for them or to do something. I think that will greatly impact on you and what you do positively. It's very, very important.
For every adventure, you will agree with me there are issues or challenges to contend with. Talk to us some of the likely challenges that may be associated with going on tours or having musical concerts from your experience, especially when it comes to the angle of the art or the artist, so that these things can be managed very well to have a successful concert or tours.
Well, okay, maybe I will just direct this to the up and coming arts that are opportune to go on tours with these big ones. It's not a situation where you want to measure shoulder by shoulder with them. One, you see it as an opportunity for your growth. So in other words, you have to learn to be humble. It might not be a servant-master relationship, but I think some of the big boys, they really want you to respect them. Once you do that, you stand a good chance of going on the next tour with them. Otherwise, if they don't agree for you to come along with them, there's no way you'll be squeezed into that group. So you must learn. I tell the young ones that your attitude will always determine your altitude, how far you go in life. So there's a place of humility in there. Basically, that is it. Then preparation is also very important, because some will tell you that they don't believe in luck, and some will define luck as preparation meeting with opportunity. And I think I would like to go with that school of thought. When you prepare, when you are well prepared and the opportunity comes, you also have to boost some of the big boys, their concerts. I'm sure subsequently they won't want to leave you behind because you have a value to bring on board.
What factors influence the choice of the tour location and even the venue? We've seen the O2 Arena being used more often. What is the catch around such locations?
I think you look at the numbers. How many people can that hall take or the arena take? That's one of the very important factors. You look at accessibility to the place. Though a big act, when you come in, even if you are performing inside the hall, your fan will look for you. So, but the number is very, very, very important. The numbers, the comfortability, then you also look at security. Those are some of the basic factors you look at for. The facilities as well is important. What do they have on ground?
Let's look at the business, the business side of the whole issue. How profitable it is to embark on tours? Then how do you handle your negotiations, especially when you have more agencies, more partners involved? Talk to us your experience when it comes to the issue of negotiation and the issue of charging, fees, the issue of ticketing, the monetary aspect of musical tours and concerts.
I think the artist you are taking is a number one factor. You have the one you can call them on the A list and on the B list. The way you will charge for if you have the big names, of course, will be different from how you charge if you are just taking artists that you are trying to groom and to expose. There are two different things. That is one. So that's a major factor. Two, for the big acts, I think some of them usually from time to time they have sponsors as well. Beyond depend on the if is it a charity concert, these are some of the. It depends on what you're really going in for. If it's a charity concert, I think that in most cases is either on the bills are picked up by brands and all that. So it's not the negotiation might not it's not really too different from other business negotiations. So you just consider the factors, various factors, which include legal. You must get your lawyers to look at some of the agreements and all that, and if it pays you, you go ahead with it. Like I said, it's not too different from other business negotiations.
So what are the challenges with working with big acts? Sometimes some big artists, for some reasons, do not show up at concerts that they've been built to perform at. So when you encounter such situation, what happens? How does the sponsors, the company organizing the concert get back their money because tickets have been sold, fans have been made to come? How does this all settle at the end of the day?
Well, I think that's very simple. What I said before now, as part of when you asked the last question, is that one thing that is very important is your legal angle. You don't go and get someone, or you get carried away, this big guy, he has agreed. You have to sign the dotted lines. You have to sign a contract. So if he reneges on the contract, then such a person can be sued and he will pay all the whatever costs and damages that you may have incurred. It's very, very important. It's very key in any business that you make sure you sign an agreement, a contractual agreement, before any form of exchange, terms of money, or you commit yourself to publicity and all that. Make sure you have signed an agreement. Don't go and start publicity when you have not signed an agreement with the artist you are supposed to be bringing on. Say, let me just go and be doing this something. No. The very first thing, the business starts the days you append the signature on the contract. And the contract, it's not something you write yourself. It's something you must give to your lawyer. Let him write it for you, and in such a way that it will take care of all your interest. And in case of any renege, somebody breaking any of the contractual agreements, then you can easily go to court and not just get your money back, but other damages that you may have incurred, that person will pay for it.
All right, we are due for a break now. When we return, our conversation with our guests will continue. Stay with us. All right, if we're just joining us, there's no cause for alarm. It's the Friday edition of Early Exchange, and our focus has been the music industry. Most importantly, we're looking at music tours and concerts, and our guest is still with us, who is Osezua. Glad to have you join us once again.
Thank you.
Now, let's look
Thank
at
you.
what it involves when it comes to promoting music tours and concerts. Whose responsibility should it be to engage in the promotion of the music tours? And then what are the things involved when you need to promote a music tour or concert?
Well, I think it's a responsibility of the marketing company. Of course, most of the labels, they have marketing companies who do some activation for them. When it's time, marketing and PR agencies, they handle that aspect of the business because they are professional in that regard. They know all the considerations. They know what time of the year will be most ideal. They will be advised at the time of the year that such tours and concerts or even music festivals should come on. They let you know. They know how to reach your target audience using all the stuff we have today, the tools in advertising, the tools in how to project or to get who your target audience are. They use all that, and in line with that, they carry out their publicity and advertising.
Okay, for a
So
tour
it's basically their duty. But you didn't even talk about, we can't talk about musical tours without talking about music festivals. That's another way artists, especially the young ones, can take advantage to get the required or desired exposure. A festival, like we have a couple of them in Lagos. In Nigeria, you have the Gidi Culture Festival, you have the Afro Nations, you have one like One African Music Festival. All those ones are very, very important. As a young artist, it's something you can take advantage of to project yourself, as it were.
All right,
Sorry, you're going to
there
say
are some
something.
companies that are known for putting together music tours. So once you see an advert and you see that name behind that tour, you want to attend because of the experience that you perhaps have had attending any of their tours. So what are those things that ensure a good fan experience that the fans now begin to identify with the company? What are those things that music tour companies should look out for or ensure that they provide in any tour they organize?
I think first and foremost, security is very important. When you are planning your tours, the number one consideration should actually be security. When fans come for your tours or the tours organized by you, and they notice that there's always fracas, fights, and all that breaks out, I'm sure everyone who love their life will want to avoid any concert organized by you or that you are coming. It's only those who have the same mindset of fighting and all that that will say, okay, it's an opportunity to go and show our skill, that will be coming there, except those are your target audience. Otherwise, you have to make sure your fans are secured. It's very important. There's no two ways about it. So for me, that's the number one consideration when you are considering picking what this program you want to, or what tour or what concert you want to attend. It's very, very, very important. And that's why another thing, venue, like we spoke before, venue is a major consideration when you are talking about security. If you, for instance, if you use like I don't know if I'm permitted to call one or two names, because I don't know. So that I don't know if it's adverts,
Maybe that won't
but
be
otherwise, but
necessary.
for the hello, but for the
That won't be
essence of
necessary.
talking, I don't know. I know. Anyway, let me leave that out so that I don't begin to advertise on your do free adverts on your platform. But there are places you go to. There are some big hotels that allow for such, and they have very large halls, even on the island, that is well secured.
All right. I like the fact that you have to respect the professionalism of the media, which you are aware of. Thank you for that. Now, let's look at what point
Thank you.
should an upcoming artist or musician think of going on concerts or having concerts or going on tours? At what point will you advise an upcoming artist to do that?
Well, I would say as early as you have the opportunity, take advantage of it. Take advantage of it. Either you have released your music, either you have not released your music. It's actually a good platform to give out some of those your numbers that you are about going to record in the studios, so you can see the audience response to each of the tracks, so you know which one you actually need to record and push.
Okay, you talked about music festivals and tours. Can you make the clear distinctions between both?
Well, is a festival is a regular occurrence. In most cases, a yearly reoccurrence of activities where you bring where people come together, like all those in music and music business. They come around. It will afford you opportunity to meet people from different background, maybe producers, artist managers, um, advertising or public relation agency, record labels. It's like a convention where they gather and music is played. So that is basically festival. But for tours, it's a planned activities of you performing from one hall to the other, maybe from city to city, country to country. And it's not really, you may not know when the next tour will happen, but for festival, okay, maybe from the second week, every August, the whole of the second week is for this particular musical festival or activities. So that's the basic difference.
As we wrap up, what would be your counsel to an upcoming artist or an artist or musician who's thinking of going on tours and concerts? I would like you to make some recommendations. What would be your counsel to an artist who is thinking of going on tours and having concerts as we wrap up?
Well, as a person and in line with what is happening now, my advice, the very first thing is that look at the artist in the group that you are planning to go with. If you like the kind of things they do, not just success on in the art of music, but what is their life outside of music? You need to consider that. It's very important these days with the recent occurrence about Mobad and all that. So you don't want to go into, if you are someone who is well brought up, you don't want to end up in a place where drug will be the order of the day for you. I'm talking not just as someone in the business, but I'm talking as a father now. Because the experience in recent time, the occurrence of the mobile thing, is not what any father or any parent will be happy about. Hearing the details of that news, I think is heartbroken. So you can be successful in music without going into drugs. You can be successful in music without doing involving yourself in some of these activities that even your fans will not be proud of. So that is the number one thing. Do a background check on the people that are calling you to come and be signed on. Do a background check on the people they want to lobby with to go on tours with. If it's not what you want, I beg of you to please just desist, maintain what you are doing, and at the right time, God will take you to that place. You get to that place of honor.
We've been talking with Osezwa Stephen Imorio, who is a founder, African Indigenous Language Film Festival, ILIF. Thank you very much for being on Early Exchange, talking to us about tours, music tours, and concerts.
Thank you so much. It's nice to be here. And I think anytime you think you will need my little contribution, I'm open.
Thank you very much for offering, and
thank you.
We'll be glad to take you up on that at other times. All right, we continue talking about the entertainment industry after this break. Stay tuned. Many thanks for staying with us on Early Exchange. And as we continue talking about the entertainment industry, yes, let's continue looking at music, which is a very important sector in the music industry. Apart from live performances, there are different distribution channels through which music artists spread their work. We have digital platforms from where they make lots of money. Sometimes you go over to platforms like Spotify and you check maybe a particular song done by an artist, maybe big names like Burna Boy, Wizkid, and Davido, and you get to see the number of streams. You want to do the conversion. You're tempted to get your calculator and say, how much would this be at the end of the day? So they make lots of money through those platforms. And I think that music artists of this time are very lucky that they came into music at a time when those distribution channels were already in place.
You know, we're in a digital world where technology has taken over. In fact, tech now is the rave of the moment.
Yes.
Unlike in the past, when it comes to music distribution or streaming, you have to do it manually, where you make use of your DHL and all that. You know, you have to contact an agent to distribute your music, and those things used to be done manually. But now, software, tech, you know, there are a lot of software, there are a lot of music distribution platforms, locally and globally, where you can put your music and then you'll be earning income. In fact, even on the social media platform, because we're also in the social media age, whereby you can put your music there, you earn revenue at the end of the day. Unlike in the past, where you are just restricted to one format, you are just restricted to one source, you know, which is the manual thing, and it depends on how much your marketer or your marketing agencies could be able to promote or distribute those things, which come with issue of challenges like logistics, the issue of finance, then location. For you to be able to distribute your music around a country like Nigeria, for you to be able to go around 36 states and even across the whole world, it's going to be a challenge. But you can do that with the comfort of your software, at the comfort of your home, you know, putting those music on those platforms like the one you mentioned. Before you know it, you are in Nigeria, but your music has gone to UK, your music has gone to US, has gone to Canada, you know. So the technology is the rave of the moment, and that's added value to it, and that's why it's even bringing more money, making it more convenient, it's faster, and it's giving more results.
Yeah, and it also helps to deal with the issue of piracy, because when you had DVDs, CDs being sold before, you hardly get to see the original CDs to buy, and sometimes they seem to be very expensive, so people just settled for the pirated ones. But these days, just from your phone, your mobile device, you can have access to lots of music, and it also helps the artist knows how much is coming into them from their works, which are on this digital platform. So the digital shift to a very good extent has affected the distribution of music. You talked about the challenge if you were, or if an artist were to use the old channels to distribute your music. It would be very hard. There are places where it would take quite a long time before a particular song gets there. But now, as long as it's uploaded, as long as it's on those platforms from anywhere you are in the world, you can download, you can listen to those songs. All right, we have someone who will talk to us about music distribution. Is Charles Alade, who is a communication strategist, media and advertising executive. Good morning, Charles. Welcome to Ed Exchange.
Good morning. I'm excited to be here.
Okay, we're glad to know that. All right, talk to us about the streaming of music, distribution of music in this time and age. How is the business like for the artists and even those who own such platforms?
All right. That's a very brilliant question. The digital music distribution platform is one platform that helps artists to, like we say from the word distribution, distribute their songs to different stores. And when these songs go to all of these stores, every sales that is made on each store is accumulated and then sent back through a distribution platform. And I'll explain. There are several of them. We have the TuneCore, we have the CD Baby, we have DistroKid, we have the Ditto, quite a number of them. All right. But what you do is once you distribute with one of these platform, your song goes to about 150 stores. Let me use TuneCore for an example. So your song goes to Spotify, to Apple Music, to Shazam, to Deezer, to Pandora, to iHeartRadio, a lot of them. All right. And so each of these stores have a price tag, you know, for selling every stream. So if somebody plays your song from the beginning to the end, you get a certain amount of money, usually in dollars. All right. But before the emergence of this, artists just promote their song. I mean, that's why we have artists who go very viral, very popular, yet very poor, because they do not put their songs on digital streaming platform where they can monitor their sales. Now, when you distribute through a digital platform, all right, when you distribute through a digital platform, you get your payment at least every month is going to be somewhere in your bank inside that distribution platform. However, when a lot of artists upload songs, they just send to a random person, say, please help me upload. I want my song on Apple Music. I want it on Spotify. No, that is not the way it is done. Whoever is distributing your song is supposed to create an account for you with any of these distribution platform that has your name. And even when they create that, they are supposed to also link your bank account to what I call Payoneer. Now, because some of these platforms do not deal with countries directly. For instance, for a long time, it took a while for DistroKid to deal with Nigeria directly because of different opinion about the people of Nigeria. So you are supposed to link your bank account with a Pioneer account where you can withdraw your streaming royalty. That's what we call it. Your streaming royalty every month. Now, if you feature anybody on that song, at the point of upload, you're supposed to say, let's say Charles Alade features Johnny Drill. At the point of upload, all of the parameters must be included. Meaning, if Johnny Drill has some certain percentage on that song, I will write 60 for Charles, 40 for Johnny Drill. And so when all of the sales have been accumulated from different stores, like I said, Spotify, Apple Music, when they are returning sales back to TuneCore, which I distribute from, or DistroKid, or whatever it is that you distribute from, they would have splitted it. That's what we call split sheet. They would have ensured that every sale, 40% goes directly to Johnny Drill, and then 60% comes directly to Charles Alade, who is the original writer of the song. Now, people don't have this information, and then they get ripped off, and then you see challenges, label owner pursuing artists calling label owner a ripper. But knowledge is important because music is business, and to do any business, you're supposed to be knowledgeable about it. So that is somewhat about what music distribution is.
You made reference to the use of music distributor. Talk to us the advantage of making use of a music distributor rather than the artist or the producer doing it himself. Talk to us about the advantage and how far it will go when you deploy the use of a music distributor.
Beautiful. So there are some artists that we call indie artists, like independent artists. I mean, there are quite a number of them abroad. Oftentimes, they are not affiliated with any record label. And if you have this knowledge, you can distribute your song yourself using a distribution platform. However, there are different agencies now in Nigeria, like I also have one, that will say, you know what, don't bother yourself about this since you don't know much about it. Let me help you distribute your song, and then let me help you monitor your sales, and then let me help you bring back, whatever it is that your royalties bring to you. But people are not honest. Now, because the artist does not really know about it, you don't even know how much you are selling. So if, for instance, I distribute song for you and I just say, you have made $5,000 in the last 1 year, you'll be excited because first off, you're not expecting that much. What if I had made $25,000? You don't even know. So when we distribute song for artists, for instance, I teach them. I say, this is your platform. This is your dashboard. That's what we call it. See, this is your sales. In Canada, this is the amount number of people that have streamed your song in Canada, because you will see everything. The demography is there, the age range. Oh, they listen to your song more in the UK and in Canada. In Nigeria, they don't stream a lot. Nigerians love to download. So even till now, if you put your song on streaming platform, maybe for Apple Music, but for Spotify, Nigerians hardly stream. As at the time that Spotify was not in Nigeria, we had been we had created account for artists where they are verified, because also on each store they are supposed to be a verified artist. Because if you are not a verified artist, I can claim your song to be mine because of what I know that you don't know. So it's important that artists use distribution platforms so that their songs can go, first off, go viral. I heard you say that before I came up. Your song can go to different nations of the earth that you may never be able to visit. Talk of Brazil, talk of, I mean, Kuwait, only some of these places that you may never be opportune to travel to. Now, it is of interest to know that an artist can go viral in Canada and they don't know him in Nigeria, because his song is accepted more in that environment. Sometimes you are certified gold, sometimes you are certified platinum, because of, people just like the tune. Now, when you also upload this song, there's something called artist peak, all right, so that people always want to listen to the newest upload. So when people come on Spotify, for instance, and they don't even know me, they just want to check, okay, this song was released on the 21st of September. Let me see what it sounds like. If the song is beautiful enough, I can leave it there repeatedly, be doing my job, and as long as you are streaming my song, something is coming to me. So it's important that artists use distribution platforms, but there are distribution agencies. If you are going to work with any distribution agency who would have still used the same distribution platform that you're supposed to use for yourself, be careful with them and be sure that you know all the details of what they are doing for you, so that you don't begin to complain and call people out later. So distribution platform is different from distribution agencies. Distribution platform is what the distribution agency will still use for you, and they are popular, they're online, there's nothing hidden about it. Talk of Tunko, DistroKid, Ditto, CD Baby, like I mentioned earlier. I don't know if I answered your question.
All right. You talked about indie artists and also artists using record labels. Now, in Nigeria, we do not find a lot of independent artists. Most artists come under record labels, and so you're able to make this negotiations, this choice of which distribution or which distributor to use for their music. But talking about royalties, you talked about the distributor allocating certain percentages depending on those involved in the work. And we've seen that when people are called out, or when record labels are called out, it is over issues like this. So what is the role of the artist? When the artist has a manager, has a record label, what should the artist do to ensure that even when they are no longer with that particular record label, the royalties that are due them come to them? How do they come by this knowledge? How do they come to a position of negotiating at an advantage?
Beautiful. So I have had to manage a record label before. I've also played majorly in promoting music. Now, when you sign an artist, you have a percentage ratio that you split between the record label and the artist. Oftentimes, a sensible one will be 70-30. Some rip artists off, they will say 80-20. Some even go as far as say, 90-10. Some don't even give artists anything. They will say, we are paying your salary. We have, rented an apartment for you at the Lekki. We have got you Ferrari. And, because artists are desperate and a lot of them are not knowledgeable. The reason is because oftentimes people who are talented are not very organized people. They are quite spontaneous. So they are much eager to sign, to say, Charles has now been signed to Moit, Charles has now been signed to YBNL. They are not necessarily interested in knowing the details. So when an artist comes under a label, you are supposed to have your personal lawyer aside the record label owner. You are also supposed to have your own manager aside the record label manager who ensures your interest is, guarded. So if an artist comes to my label, he's supposed to come with his lawyer and with his manager. And then we need your talent, we have the money. This is the percentage, meaning that in all of this royalty, says it's open, it's an open book. Any sale, any record you do under us, maybe we had an agreement that you're recording for us 5 albums in 5 years, or let's say 3 albums in 5 years, because not everybody records album every year. 3 albums in 5 years, you owe us. And in all of this album, this is the percentage ratio. Meaning that even if I have left that label and I'm now running my own label, we've seen series of artists like Keith Daniel now has his own label. He used to be with G Worldwide and all of that. I am still entitled to the song, the percentage ratio of the songs I record while I am under your label. I am still entitled to my 30% of every streaming till the end of life. I am still entitled. So even if I now have my record label, as long as it's written in an agreement, is signed by a barrister, the law court is aware of it, I still own that percentage interest in all my royalties from every song I put out under your record label. But people don't know these things. I strongly wish that there can be a forum where artists can be educated, about music business rather than just music making or producing of songs. So that is it about royalty. It must be spelled out. It must be written in your contract. And when you are reading your contract, get a lawyer to read for you. There are certain clauses that you see there. You think it's English language. Just or maybe can put you in trouble. Or and as well as can put you in jail because you just do not understand the meaning of that as well as. So it's important that artists understand all of these variables when signing a deal and understand that while we are uploading all my songs in my catalog, as long as it's under this record label, this is the percentage ratio. Also talk of bookings. I didn't mention that. The ratio is also about bookings. Some labels don't split royalty of streaming with artists. They will just split bookings, meaning that you're not going to show. They're paying you now 10 million naira per show. It's 70-30. Okay, 10 million naira means you take 3 million, and then we take 7 million. Since we are buying clothes for you, we are paying your salary, we are taking care of your bills and all of that. And then streaming platform, the artist will not even know how many sales he's making every month, what is coming into the label. In fact, they'll be telling him, you're not making money for us, so there is no booking, nobody's calling you. And he will be fighting himself, he'll be depressed, not knowing that his song is actually selling, on digital distribution platforms.
All right, let's look at the factors, the signs, the algorithm that determines the success of a song on the streaming platforms. What are the factors that determine the acceptability, the success of these songs on the streaming platforms?
Thank you very much for that question. And I think the question is the answer is in the question you have asked me, the acceptability. Artists think it's about them. When you make music, you're not making music for yourself. You're making music for the people. So what do the people want to listen to? For instance, you want to go global. You record a lot of songs in Yoruba language or in Igbo. Even if we love the rhythm and the sound, we can't understand what you're singing in Australia. As much as we want to listen, there is a language barrier. So first off is acceptability. You're supposed to put out a song that is universal in language, that everybody can understand and relate with. However, boys have been able to break the code to force the sound rather than the words. They force the sound on you. Now talk of even streaming platforms. If you upload your song on a streaming platform, it will not automatically make sales. So I need to say this clearly. A lot of people who have songs on digital platform, you see 2 monthly listener, 45 monthly listener, and the song has been there for 3 years. Aside putting your song on each platform, you are supposed to go and promote on each platform. Just like, for instance, I sell popcorn and I put it on all the major stores in Lagos. I don't want to mention their name, they didn't pay me for advert. I still need to go and tell the cashier or the lady there to say, this is my popcorn. Anybody that comes in, maybe I can tip her. Please tell them that this popcorn is sweet. Let them buy it. So the fact that your song is on streaming platform does not mean it will be streamed automatically, because if people don't know you, they will stream your song. So there is need to promote on each store. You promote on Spotify, you promote on Apple Music, you promote on YouTube, YouTube promotions. You promote on all of the top major stores, Amazon. You promote on AudioMac, and ensure that these guys are putting your song on trends, for instance, on newly released, for instance. They also have their own radios. They promote it regularly so that when listeners or people want to peruse your song, come on their platform, your song comes forward. All right. So it's important that we promote on each store also. But more importantly, the algorithm that determines acceptability, like I said, the sound, the words, who are you trying to reach? If you want to go more global, then be more universal in your language. Then the sound, people just love something new. Sometimes you can experiment with a new sound. It's not regular. They're like, what does this one sound like? A lot of songs we celebrate in Nigeria. Have you observed that there are songs that at the beginning you're like, what rubbish did this guy just release? And then after 2-3 months, it becomes a viral song. Because artists are also trying to sample new sound. Like I was one that recently came out that a traditional sound was used. The traditional instrument was used on a pop sound, and it's everywhere. So it's important that you study the people that you are trying to sell to. What do they want to listen to? And give them exactly the way they want it and promote it. They will stream your song.
All right, let's come to the streaming platforms themselves. Streaming platform competition. What innovative strategy separates one from another? Why would a particular artist or even a record label choose to put their song on one channel instead of the other?
All right, so like I said, I need to make this clear. If you upload your song on any distribution channel, which is, like I mentioned, let me just continue to use DistroKid and TuneCore as an example. Your song is supposed to go to all the stores, except you resist it and say, my song, don't go to Spotify, go to only Apple Music. Don't go to Apple Music, go to only Amazon. Don't go to Amazon, go to only YouTube video, YouTube audio. Ideally, when you distribute, it will go to 150 stores in the world. So you can't even restrict it to say, don't go into this place, go to this place. But your song will not do well at equal level on all the stores. Just like if I put my popcorn in all the stores in Lagos, the stores in Lekki can sell better because our people of Lekki accept it. The stores in mainland can say, which one is this popcorn? We don't like it. The stores in Enugu can say, this popcorn is too expensive. The stores in this place. So when you distribute, it goes everywhere. You can't restrict where your song goes to. You can't determine, rather. But at the point of upload, you can say, okay, take down this store. Don't put it here. But why should you just limit where your song should get to when it can be an added revenue for you? So when you distribute, automatically it will go to at least 150 international stores. When you distribute through any platform, it will go to at least 150 international streaming platforms. So you can't say, I want my song to go here, I don't want to go. It will just go there by itself. It may now not get any streamings, but it will go there.
Now let's look at the issue of monetization and respect to royalties. Now, how do you monitor the money accrued? Take us to the process from the beginning where you upload your music to what you need to do to supervise or look at the monetization aspect for it to translate into physical cash or something in your bank account. So take us through the process, and then the issue of royalty. How do you monitor that, and how do you handle that professionally?
You know why I laughed? Because that's what I am feeding with, but I'll share with you. So when you upload your song, before upload, when you want to upload a song, number one, the song must be original. It must have original sound. Meaning that I can't just go and carry Kiss Daniel's song because it's popular and then upload in my name. The digital distribution platform will take it down. They won't even let it go. So first off, it must be your original song. It must be an original sound. You can also use another person's beat that has been uploaded to record your song. You see, these things use some kind of AI tools to spot a sound that is repeated or a sound that has been uploaded before. So if I put anybody's song that is not mine, the streaming platform will not allow it go. So first off, it can't upload. But let's say I now use my own song. I upload it. Rather. It takes minimum of 4 days for your song to get to at least Apple Music and Spotify. Some other stores will take 2 weeks, which is why we advise that if an artist wants to upload a song, between the date of release and the date of upload, leave a space of 1 month. So you see, a whiskey saying, I'm dropping a new album in October 1st, and you're wondering why is he telling you ahead? Before whiskey tells you he's uploading a song in October 1st or so date, the song has been uploaded already. But it will ensure the release date is that particular date. So I can upload my song today and say the release date, set the release date to be January 1st, 2024. That is one. Now, from the day that my song gets to stores, I must now begin to reach out to people who can help me promote the song in each of these stores. One local way that people do, they call something the farm, streaming farm. In some of the Philippines and some other countries, they gather a lot of people in the same room with plenty streaming devices, and they begin to play the song. They just leave it to repeatedly play itself from morning to night, And that's why you see the artists record a song today, and then in 24 hours, they are recorded 1 million streams on YouTube, 1 million streams on Spotify. Like, how come people have, they are beginning to be faster than the technology to say, you know what, we'll not leave our fate in the hands of people. We want to control our fate ourselves. So they have a lot of devices in room. Some of these boys do it, and then they just play, stream from morning to night for days. They keep doing that repeatedly. Since the song is no more than 2 minutes, 25 seconds, so it's easier to repeat it. In 24 hours, you must have repeated it for at least, several thousands of times. So that is one way they do it to influence and control the algorithm. But also, there are promotions you can do on those stores whereby your song can go on what we call playlists. There are popular playlists. There are some guys that have created playlists that ideally people who consume song go to play those playlists. They will every day go there because that's where they find new songs. So if a playlist has at least 1 million people who listen to it every day, and you're able to pay for your song to be on that playlist, it means that naturally, for your song to have been on that playlist, it will gain at least 1 million streams. That's another trick. Now, thirdly, when the song are now being streamed, like I said, under your TuneCore account or DistroKid or CD Baby or Ditto that you used to share to all the stores, you will go to where we call under DistroKid, we call it bank. Under TuneCore, we call it withdrawal account. You go under it to check, and you can't see it in less than a month, so it's not possible. You can't just, even if the song gain on 1 million streams today, you can't see the royalty. It won't even show yet. You can't even withdraw until after a month, because they will need to gather the sales from all the stores before they can send you such an information. So they collect sales from YouTube, collect sales from Apple Music, collect sales from Spotify, collect sales from Amazon, gather everything together before they forward to your platform, your dashboard. for you to see and say, okay, in the last 1 month, 500,000 people stream from YouTube, 1 million people stream from Spotify, 5 million people stream from Apple Music. So you will see all the details, and all the details has a certain amount they sell, they pay for each stream. So for Apple Music at the time, I think it was, I can't remember now. I think it was about, it was a bit close to, it's not up to $1. Same with Spotify, about 0.00 something cent. So you imagine how many streams you will need, because, and then I think it's a 1,000 streams that now brings some certain reasonable amount. So you will need a lot of streams from each store before you can get a reasonable amount of money. That's why you need millions of streams, hundreds of millions of streams, which now translates to a lot of money. And the higher the streams, the higher the royalty. So you need to now go to that place under your dashboard to check from time to time. Oh, I think my song is picking more on Spotify. App Music is not really selling much. Oh, YouTube is doing way better than this other guy. So it's a place to see it. Once you click that thing, it will show all the details. And a label is supposed to show the artist this thing. A distribution agency is supposed to show the artist this thing, but they won't show you. So then we just say, we're not making sales. And that's what we call your split sheet. Because that split sheet is what has all these details. When it was streamed, how much you have accumulated on each store. And then you can make withdrawal from time to time. But that withdrawal cannot come directly to your Nigerian bank account. For instance, DistroKid does not even recognize in the Nigerian account. So what you need to do is to use what we call Payoneer, or use what we call PayPal. So you have a PayPal account that you have linked with your distribution platform, and you can now withdraw into that PayPal account. Then from PayPal account, you can withdraw into your Nigerian bank account or your dollar account.
All right, Alade, we'll continue the conversation after this break. Please stay tuned.
Thank you.
Many thanks for staying tuned. We're looking at music streaming, just say distribution of music. And our guest is Charles Alade, who has been talking with us about it. He is a communication strategist, media and advertising executive. We'll talk very much about digital music distribution. And let's look at the challenges with digital music distribution. All right, Charles. Talk to us about it. What are the challenges? You mentioned earlier that some streaming platforms do not deal with Nigerian accounts. So what are the issues?
Yes, like I said, in fact, I think it was until after 2020, I think it was 2021 or 2022, yeah, 2021, that Spotify can now allow a Nigerian to open an account. It was that bad. So as an artist, you're supposed to also have your artist account, I call it verified accounts on each store. So if you check on Spotify, you see they write something with a blue tick, just like the Instagram tick. You see verified artist. That didn't happen until 2021. Before then, what we were doing for artists was to use a VPN to change a location and then open the account for the artist from another country because it won't just recognize Nigeria. But I mean, 2021, they allow that. I mean, VPN is a legal thing for different businesses that you do for issue of location and discrepancies and all of that. So that's a challenge. Nigerians, whatever we got into, we do it well. And to an extent, some of these communities are not comfortable with it. That's the truth. So there is that barrier of what these guys, they're just very ambitious. Anything they get into, they want to be at the forefront of it. So we have that to fight with. Second challenge is today the bank account issue also. If you live in the US, it's just your check. It will pay straight to your account. But now we still have to go through an intermediary fintech, a PayPal or a Payoneer and all of that. That's another challenge. Another challenge with distribution platform is that you need to be famous to make sales, or you go and run your promotion. You need to do a lot of work so that a song is even blowing up in a particular community, maybe on radio, they are playing it every day, does not translate to streaming. Yes, it may affect it in a way because when people see you on TV, on radio, they want to go and check. Okay, who is this guy? Does he have a song on this platform? Let me check. But how many artists can even afford to do that? I mean, we all know, what some media stations have to do for artists to put their songs online. So the competition is becoming more fearless. It's becoming more competitive. The industry, rather, the businesses. I mean, that's why you hear a lot of artists say they are depressed because to promote an average song, as at 2019, to promote a single, I spent on an artist at that time 5 million naira, and this is covering, I can't go into details, because there are people who just want to settle before your artist can be heard, So it's becoming more expensive. You see somebody shoot a video, they tell you that one video is 10 million naira or 20 million naira. Where do you start from? So all of these things are challenges that an artist face in the music industry. It's becoming more expensive, like the battle of the fittest. So if you can't go out, then go home. That's what they have turned the record label thing to. And then you see people, and that's why if a record label spends a lot of money on you, they are willing to take it back, even with your pound of flesh. And that's the challenges we're seeing everywhere. So the investor is crying. He has recorded the first song for you, the second song, the third song, and it's not picking up. No sales, no money. And millions have gone down the drain. So except they love you, they may start acting funny, start asking for what you cannot offer. That's why a lot of them, begin to peddle other trades that are illegal just to cover up for money that they do not make from music, and then you think it's the music. So it's a very, very funny industry. But I dare to say that there are a lot of challenges in music distribution platform. Also, reapers, like we call them on the streets. People are not truthful. Some of the things I've explained today, Some people will not be happy about it because that's where they eat from. As at that year, before I knew about this, because it was the pain of not lack of knowledge and what people were collecting from us that made me go and do a lot of research about this thing. As at 2018, I don't know jack about what I'm saying to you today. I used to think it's one vague um, theory or ideology. Ah, what is distribution? What is this one? This Apple Music. That was a guy that told us to go and bring $1,000 to help us promote on Apple Music as at 2019. He's one of the top big boys in Lagos. These are the money they used to buy a house in Lekki. I mean, when one artist can give you $5,000 just because of he cannot do research, he can't go online to check and study and learn things, and say, "I don't worry, I'll put your song in first 100 Apple Music. Go and bring so millions of naira." You should go and bring it because truly, if your song gets to top 100, people will stream. So it's like business investment. You put new money inside to get money back. So artists don't mind. Oh, Egbon, bros. So if I get 10 million now, my song will be in first 100. And it's just sometimes they will tell you it's 2 days. Go and verify what I'm saying. They say your song will be in top 100 for 2 days because they're also doing it illegally. They say your song will get to top 100 in 2 days. When we put it there, and so you are sure that you will get enough streams in that 2 days or in 24 hours. The same thing comes to audio mark that are trending. That one you apply for trending so that your song can be on trending songs in a particular genre. So trending song in Afrobeat, trending song in pop, trending song in gospel. There are boys who also runs that one background to put your song on trending song. So it's a very deep in concept. It's a very deep concept. But if there are a lot of challenges there, but if an artist will learn, knowledge is power. If an artist will learn how it works, a record label will employ a professional to tell them how it works, and not just some boys who sack their chain and then just you want to buy Benz and put one big mansion in Lekki, and they are not an artist, they are not a lawyer, they don't contribute anything, they are not producers, they just know how to use the internet and they rip artists off and rip label off, their earned money. So people need to go and learn for themselves so that people don't begin to call white black or blue yellow for you.
That's great. Now let's look at the dominance of the foreign players or the foreign platforms. Most of the streaming platforms are owned by foreign players. Are you looking forward to a day, Africans or Nigerians will come up with their own platform? And what is the prospect that will succeed? Let's talk about homegrown solutions now.
That's true. Do you know I never thought about that before, honestly. But AudioMark, I think AudioMark is owned by, I'm not sure, I don't want to be quoted, but I think AudioMark is owned by, I'm not sure, or by Nigerian, I'm not sure. But there are a bit of some of their staffs who are Nigerians. I think we should look into it. We have the numbers. At least, I mean, as at the last time I checked, we are more now. We're over 200 million people. Yes, not everybody is tech savvy who will be able to stream. But let's even say the law of 20%, 200 million. That's 20 million. Let's say 20 million people stream my song at 1 naira each. If I put it 2 naira or 5 naira, you say it's too much. But let me say 5 naira. 5 naira each, 20 million people stream my song. Please help me do the mathematics. So I think we should, if one of us can come up with it, a streaming platform for Nigerians by Nigerian, and then our money can circulate amongst ourselves and it can even add to our GDP. All right, I am waiting for that person to start it, to create a streaming platform owned by Nigerians that will also be affiliated with the digital distribution platform. You remember I said once you distribute through one source, it goes to all the stores. When you distribute through a source, it goes to all stores. Two different words, distinctly. Source, stores. So if you ever create that your own channel, you will probably still also need to put it on maybe TuneCore, so that when TuneCore wants to distribute a song for anybody, they can also help you artists distribute song to your own store. But even if we don't want to do that and say we want to do standalone, I believe it's possible. It's just for us to begin to embrace our own thing. If our own Nigerian cars, people don't even believe in it, they can't drive it. Our own Nigerian, this thing they say is Nigerian made. It's just now that Nigerians are beginning to wear Nigerian shoes. Some people still pride in wearing the designer, the Gucci, the Dolce or Gabbana, the guys that don't know you, and you keep making money for their generation. Some of them, they are no more, the Mercedes Benz. You still want to drive Benz at the expense of your Kosharis motor. So you see this low self-esteem of the African man or the Nigerian, but it's an African thing to think that the white is always superior to the black, that the things that come from the foreign countries are better than what we do here. Is a fallacy, it's a lie, it's a myth
All right,
that we need
Chancellor,
to
we wish we
demystify.
had more time to actually look at the issues surrounding music distribution. Well, you talked about one person doing, and I want to ask, why wait for one person? What about a collaboration? Isn't this possible? Just in 30 seconds, answer that.
Yes, it's possible. I want to put it to every major record label owner in Nigeria. This is a challenge, and they should take my voice for it. The Don Jazzy, the YBNL, any of them, let them put head together, create a streaming platform. It's business for them. If they're not thinking about it, they should begin to do it now. Let them create their own store where Nigerians can go to stream Nigerian songs, and then they can share the investment or the result of the investment. It's a business. It's something we need to look at. I am interested in it. If they don't know how to do it, I can also support. Let's get investors. Let's create our own store. Let's stream our own song from that store, and let's generate our money for ourselves and for our people.
Charles Alade, I must confess, you've actually educated us when it comes to the issue of streaming, and we want to thank you for spending your time with us on Early Exchange this morning.
My pleasure. I'm excited.
All right. We'll go on a short break now. When we return, we'll go to another leg of our discussion for today. It's getting bigger, it's getting better. So stay with us.
When an industry reaches where people are scrapping for the market, perhaps it's time to rethink what can be done by co-opetition, that is competition and cooperation, to increase the market size. I'd like to discuss a concept about market share and two options: scrapping for a diminishing market or trying to create a bigger cake by creating a bigger market. This stems from my discussion with a brewer who was complaining about the fact that the market was shrinking, and also that the prices that they put up to mitigate against the higher tax on beer was resisted by customers. So not only was market shrinking, but also prices were being attacked. And To add insult to injury, a second big player has entered the market that wants to grab market share by all means. And the existing players are defending their turf. What is suffering is value because everybody is competing straight on price. And my feeling is, when an industry reaches where people are scrapping for the market, perhaps it's time to rethink what can be done by co-opetition, that is competition and cooperation, to increase the market size. This is my hypothesis. If you look at what drives beer sales, a lot of it is on the back of celebration in sports, especially football, in viewing centers. I can bet that if the national team, the Super Eagles, goes to the quarterfinal of the World Cup, the beer industry will sell more beer than they probably would have sold in the whole 2 years. And so I would say, instead of scrapping for that market that is dwindling, perhaps they should probably bring out a budget and come together and work with the Nigeria Football Association to develop grassroots football. It's long-term strategic investment, because by developing grassroots football and improving the league, which is also beneficial to the country, they're going to create the opportunity for the teams to advance to higher levels in global competitions. And that's a whole new market you're creating for your beer. But leaving this long-term strategy, which is a win-win for football, for Nigeria, and for your own industry, and scrapping for a diminishing market and destroying value, I have my doubts that that is a sustainable strategy. Rather, and this is not just for the beer market, for any market at all, when it gets to the point when we're scrapping for the dregs, maybe it's time to reimagine a new market.
Reader, really 15.
It's still the Friday edition of Early Exchange on Souk News, and it's been very interesting. We've been looking at the creative industry. Earlier, we had the conversation looking at the music industry, the streaming aspect, and distribution. And now we want to dovetail into movie production. You know, Nigeria, the Nollywood is regarded as the second largest film industry in the world. To shed more light on this, we're being joined by Lancelot Oduwa Imasuen, who is a film director and film producer. Glad to have you join us on Early Exchange this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
All right. As a background to start with, Nigerian film industry is regarded as the second largest in the world, producing about over 2,000 films annually. Talk to us the potential and then the economic value of the Nollywood and Nigerian movie industry as far as the music production is concerned.
Well, the Nigerian movie industry has been there right from the colonial times when movies were being produced for the business of propaganda, and we saw early movies then by the foreign Nigerian colonial masters, movies shot on celluloid for propaganda and news, as the case may be, according to the dictates of the colonial masters. Then around in the 50s, 60s, you saw a few Nigerians coming in, great names like the father of one of some of Nollywood greats, the Amata, also came in and they did some bit. Then we moved on to BC, Daughter of the River, with the Olabaloguns and all of them, producing films. Not forgetting Chief Eddie Uboma that did The Black President. So all these movies were shot on celluloid. Francis, quite a number. Kogi's Harvest, all these ones were made. And then this drought, it dried up. Then we had few cinema houses here and there. And going forward, we saw a complete drought in film productions, local film productions. That gave rise to movies from Indian, from the Chinese then, and that became very popular. Chinese film, Snake in the Mocking Shadow, all of those ones. Okay, we saw them. Then the Yorubas were also big, very big in production. Then you can mention names. Our father Hubert Ogunde, quite a number. I did love all those ones were producing films using different formats to produce. Some magical films. I know then the Yoruba Traveling Theatre, we moved on to that time until in the 90s where a particular film changed the dynamics, titled Living in Bondage. But it's suffice to say that before Living in Bondage, there were a lot of pocket of productions, even in Benin. Even in Benin, the pocket of productions by some guy there, Zulu, quite small scale. But the major commercially successful film that changed the dynamics for Nigerian film production industry became Living in Bondage. Living in Bondage brought something that was it was shot in Igbo language. It was presented in Igbo language. It was a film that was able to transcend boundaries. It was watched by the Hausas, by the Edus, by the Yorubas, and it became what we call one of the most successfully commercial films in the history of Nigeria, using cassette, VHS cassette, as we call it then, distributed all around. Yours sincerely, Ambassador Dr. Lance Master, we got into the picture from 1995. I made my fourth film in 1995, and since then we've not looked back. And we have seen over time the evolution that has come up. That today, Nigerian films, just like we're having Nigerian music, transcended boundaries. We're on Netflix, we're on Amazon, we're on all major platforms in the world, cinemas, and the case may be, that in a certain year.
Having a commercially successful movie as a movie producer, talk to us about it.
Yeah, it's like what I've said before. I'm sorry, the time difference is affecting me. It's 4 a.m. where I am. So in case I'm not as vibrant as it's supposed to be, I'll just push off the bed to be part of this. Now, there are a lot of factors that are responsible for growth. Call it resilience, call it dynamics, call it the power of the never say die spirit of the average Nigerian. And the way I call it, just about time, just time. We have seen budget. I'm preparing for a major blockbuster as I speak with you. And the actor, the management of an actor asked me for 5 million naira as an artist fee. And I paused and I laughed and I said, glory to God. Why? Then, with 5 million naira, you could make a blockbuster entirely. You make a blockbuster. But today, that could be the take home of a particular artist in the project. It's about growth. But let me tell you, it's not because there has been anything from the side of the government that has changed these dynamics. It's just the fact that we are in the time we are growing. Productions will soon hit. You hear now 100 million, 200 million, 300 million, 400 million, as the case may be, because the recouping opportunities for investors are now becoming more. The competitions are there right now. There are platforms. So imagine there are multiplicity of platforms that are coming. They can say, okay, I'm going to make this from the cinema. I'm going to make this from this platform. I'm going to make this from this platform. So when you are doing your projection, you can say, okay, fine. Let me put 200 million on ground for this project. And what are the elements that must be present in such productions that will attract these platforms is another thing you're going to consider. So a whole lot goes into it right now. It's like building structure for your kind of business. What kind of business do you want to put forth? What do you want to do? What do you want to achieve? All these things are brought into the picture, right? But I will not by any way give any kind of credit to any government anytime, any day. Yeah, during the time of Goodluck Jonathan, there was a deliberate push for training for actors, for production people to know better about their craft. That also you cannot take away. That's one government has been deliberate in wanting to, okay, let's see how we can up the ante. But outside of that, I'm not sure there have been anything that has been put forth deliberately by government to have production rise to this level that it is today. The credit must go to the people, the resilience of the people, and all what have you. That's where we are now.
All right, let's balance this discussion by going to the other side of the coin, because there are two sides to a coin. We've talked about the prospect. Now let's look at the challenges associated with movie production in Nigeria. Most importantly, the technical aspect of it when it comes to equipment and technology, then the infrastructure. Please talk to us about some of these challenges.
Oh yeah, that's actually a major problem. There are few production servicing companies that are up to date by any global standard in terms of equipment. I don't want to begin to mention names. There are chief and first among those pack. You have somebody called Kingsley Ogoro Production that has stocked himself with any kind of production gadgets, facility, equipment that can be sourced from Hollywood is available within his own space in Lagos. But the question is, how many of such do we have? How many of such do we have? That's another point that we need to begin to point at. The reason why production may be very, very expensive. Sourcing for the right equipment, sourcing for the right people, the right mind to handle this becomes another issue that is important. But right now, there's a whole lot going on. And we must give kudos to those that made it happen. I must also not fail to give credit to the Edo State government that has been deliberate in seeing the upping of the ante, as far as the desire for young people to acquire and feel the best. I think that's one government in the history of Nigeria that we can say has done. They've been deliberate, they've been intentional in trying to see how they can support the development of art, culture, and movie production business in Nigeria. And those government stands heads high on that. In terms of infrastructure that they've tried to put in, though a whole lot still needs to be done. I don't need to drop that. Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to movie distribution. How has the digital platforms imparted the distribution of Nigerian movies? And what prospect is that creating for the movie industry?
No, quite a positive impact that has been made. I must posit quite positive. The coming of Netflix the coming of Amazon, the coming of a lot of others has really actually raised the bar in terms of production quality, production design, production value. It has, because for you to get their attention, you'll be conscious that so you see this slang now within our production palette. Say, oh, this is for Netflix. It's not Netflix production, or not Netflix production. Because those ones, they've been able to set the standard to say if your production doesn't meet up to the idea. Don't get me wrong, high-end production. So you are looking at the value that you are bringing on board and what have you. So that they've impacted positively. You can't take that away. They've also helped in globalizing and bringing the right attention to the Nigerian movie production business. Yeah.
Let's talk about the issue of piracy. In the past, that used to be a huge problem. I need you to confirm to us if that is still a challenge now that digital platforms have taken over. How much of piracy do we have now that a movie producer will have to contend with at the moment?
Well, I just read something in one of our platforms that in Ghana, television stations just go grab a film and put on their channel just like that till tomorrow. Those are income that we are losing. You go to the Caribbean, you go to Jamaica, you go to a lot of these places in Jamaica where you have a sizable number of black folks that can relate with our story. Their TV stations are freely putting our works on their station without the needed royalty payment from them. So totally, you cannot eradicate piracy. It's still there. You go to YouTube, you see all kinds of work being dumped there. People just go and carry people's work and put out there. Except you are able to, you know about it, you come up. I have seen my film on YouTube with over 127,000 views. Yeah, I saw it. What could I do? Okay, you flag it down, one or two piracy claim, and they pull it down. That's all. So with the digital platform, it became even more. It's just that now, from the producer, they can grab a chunk when you are directly involved in the selling of your work. But some guys could be faster. Films that goes to cinema, before you know it, you see replicated copies of it on the street. They are still there. It's not totally eradicated. The coming of the streaming platform has not in any way affected that at all.
So what can be done in that aspect in terms of regulation to protect intellectual property?
That is where we say government. It is the responsibility of government to play their role. It is the responsibility of government to create an enabling environment for business to thrive. And it's the responsibility of government for local practitioners to get some kind of incentives to make their business thrive. So protection of copyright of individuals squarely lies with within the ambit of government to make that happen. But we do not see it because places where you're supposed to have professionals operating, you get civil servants just doing it. They don't have nothing at stake. Their interest at the end of the month, they get their salary. So people that are placed at the National Copyright National National Copyright Committee, I don't know. All of those places, we need to infuse them with the right people that feels some sense of involvement, that feels some sense of the pain that the average producer and investor will feel. So it is the responsibility of government to clean that area. We should have piracy police. We should have people, even if you arrest piracy pirates today, you carry them to the station. The police may be looking aloof. They don't know what to do. They don't have the interpretation of the enabling law to even persecute them. So that area needs to be looked into for the protection of the filmmaker and his content.
To commercialize a movie or movie production, maybe in the 80s, 90s, up to the early 2000s, you have to put them on CDs or DVDs. But now the rave of the moment is the streaming platforms, or perhaps you go to cinema as well. But this also poses the challenge of sourcing for funds, because to put movie on those platforms, you need to spend money. Now, how can a movie producer overcome this challenge of sourcing for funds? You heard Blessing talking about a movie producer who had to sell his property in order to produce a movie. Can we continue with this? What can be done to help the plight of movie producers in Nigeria?
Beautiful question. I think by the Nigerian film policy, every local government headquarters is supposed to house a viewing center. That is laws put down. But how have we been able to see this happen? You see, like in every other sector in Nigeria, be it agriculture, be it education, be it health and all of that, it boils down to those in charge of governance. You see, in developed countries, in developed parts of the world, people that are saddled with responsibility of developing, administering diverse aspects of the economy, they do so with knowledge. They do so with passion. They do so because, like, their life depends on it. So that is it. There are parts of the world where there are film grants, there are film funds, where an aspiring filmmaker can go and source for funds. It's only in Nigeria, as a matter of fact, that filmmakers actually put in their money. You go to sell your property to put in money. The first thing you are taught in the film school that never make a film with your money. So there are laws that are supposed to make these things happen. But do we have it yet? No. So do I want to survive? Yes, I want to survive. What's my field? I'm a filmmaker. So I must find a way to get things to happen there. I'm getting ready for a major sequel for a film I made 22 years ago. And hello, I have told, I will find those that would love to invest. I'm into investing. That's the reality with us. Like in every other business. So we keep doing what we got to do to keep body and soul together. Nothing seemed right. Nothing seemed right. From any way you want to look at it, the filmmaker want to keep making film. As far as there are guaranteed platforms where you can get at least make return on his investment, or the investment of people that he has plunged into the investment, he has to find a way to get them back, and that's the way it is. So we are hoping, like now, deliberately, the present administration has the Ministry of Arts, Culture, and Digital Economy, or Creative Economy. That's a beautiful one, but I want to see how that becomes a reality in operations. Content, creativity, how now it becomes a major source. At a time, the Nigerian entertainment industry was contributing, especially Nollywood, was contributing at least 1% to our gross domestic produce. That on its own was huge. So, like I keep telling government, airports, that is when people invest in buying aircraft to do commercial airline business. So a whole lot needs to be invested in the business of entertainment so that investors are guaranteed to make back their money. That is when we can continue to up the ante. That is when we can continue to meet up with global demand. That's when we can begin to continue to meet up with global standard. And with just the coming of Netflix, with coming of Amazon, you can see that some high, great value production can emanate from Nigeria. It's not just that home video era. Unbelievable things are achieved, and much more can be done.
All right. You talked about investment a lot, and we're seeing foreign investment in different sectors in Nigeria. And we know that Nollywood movies are watched globally now. How much of foreign investment has Nollywood been able to secure? And what is the way to go in pursuing that?
Sometimes you see productions called Netflix original. That's foreign investment. You see Amazon Prime original. That's foreign investment. In fact, even DSTV, this DSTV, is foreign investment. So I think we actually first started attracting foreign investment because these platforms are not owned by Nigerians. These platforms, Nigerians do not have controlling shares in these platforms. There are foreign investment already that have been flourishing in this area. You see a lot of these streaming platforms for music, they are foreign owned. So that's foreign investment. And sometimes they put in their money into productions here in Nigeria. Now you have Netflix Nigeria. It's foreign investment. So we are hoping that some Nigerian, because the money is here to do these things and do much more. We're hoping that people begin to see the need for investment in this area, because this is where to go. With this ministry started with the responsibility of looking at the creative economy, we are hoping that they will be able to first attract the right individual. Second, attract the right brains. The right individuals, not as for the right brains, people to the policies, the workable policies that will make things happen the way it's supposed to be. Where with politicizing of these things always, this is the bane of the failure of government in Africa. Nigeria in particular. Things that are supposed to really have great effect on its populace are politicized. You begin to see not meeting its targeted goal. This is a very serious area that is given the right attention. Right now, I'm in Canada. I was telling you yesterday, the Edo music concert in Canada, promoted by 24-bit from the United Kingdom, where sons and daughters, sons of Edo legends, Joseph Akabaman, all of them are here. When we saw the gathering yesterday, I said, do you know the impact that this is going to mean to our economy? But is the government of Edo State even aware? Is the government of Nigeria aware that such global export is on the prowl? Let me put it like that, positively. I'm a entire street where rehearsal was going on. People gathered watching these guys. That's a major cultural projection for our people. But how much of this do we know to begin to key in? At the point, we need experts. We need the landlord to be able to explain to government, to say, okay, we've been here, we've been here,
we need
this
to
is
go
the way
now.
it happened. I must not belong to a political party to make that contribution. That's the point. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much for your submission. We most appreciate you for spending your time with us. That's the way to wrap up our discussion with you. Thank you so much for your recommendations.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
All right. Coming to the studio now, we've had a lot of deliberations talking about movie production, the music production, the streaming aspect of it, the business aspect of it. When Charles was talking about music industry, I was thinking about you and I do a collaboration.
Yes, we'll do that. But before we talk about that, I want to appreciate Lancelot Duwai Maswin, famed director and producer, again for being on the show. He talked about the time difference, calling in, joining the show all the way from Canada, and it's not even 5 a.m. yet, but he could be on the show. We thank you for that. So to me, to both of us having a collab, yes, we'll talk about that. And good enough, Sook News has a music studio with which we can
so
do
what would
that.
be our stage name?
We'll think about now that we're very knowledgeable about music distribution. So we know which way to go to ensure that we enjoy royalties from the work we do till the end of life.
Yeah,
because
great.
that's what we've learned today. So you understand now that there's a difference between music making and the business of music. Which do you want to do? You can combine both. The difference is knowledge, and knowledge will give you the power, will make you enjoy the full benefit of your work. I'm Blessing Naija, and that's how we wrap up this week of Early Exchange. We ask that you join us again Monday, 7 a.m. West African time.
It's been a wonderful time. I'm Femi Ayodele. Have a nice weekend.